Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Valen, and this is Astral Sorcery. Today, we talk about the Stellar Refraction Table. So, the Stellar Refraction Table does not require any kind of crazy linking devices or magical crystals or some massive arched setup or anything like that. It just requires the Stellar Refraction Table and more or less proper sky conditions. That's about it, really. But it does require a few other small items to get it to actually run properly. You have to set it up and whatnot. Now, in order to craft it first, you will have to have made some progress in here. Yes, it is in the book, the Astral Tome. If you bring it up over here in the, let's open up this, we're in the Constellation chapter. It is right here in the center. You will have had to have been able to make the infused gems. And this is kind of what it is in this case. It can also, be linked with spectral lenses in some ways, but I don't see it in the recipe here. Either way, we've got star metal ingots, some other mundane stuff, your dyes, which you could probably just get away with like some regular white dye if you have bones laying around or something. But it's pretty basic. Oh, there it is. It's the infused glass. Actually, I forgot that requires some kind of lens in here. Depending upon your materials, a different lens might be cheap. One lens might be cheaper than another. Like, for instance, if I look up a lens here, like the ignition lens, if you've got a bunch of blaze rods, you can convert into blaze powder. That's pretty darn cheap. If you look at something like growth lens, that's not bad either, assuming that you have, some kind of seeds that you can do. Harm lens, wait a minute, that requires a diamond. Okay, so any one of these, it all depends on the materials you have. But you will need these here, infused glass, and you'll probably want a bunch of them. So whatever recipe you end up going with, make sure you've got a bunch of materials for it. You will also need parchment for each attempt that you will do this for. You'll need whatever materials you want to super enchant. And in this case, you can enchant books, which can be useful, but not necessarily depending upon the enchants that you choose. You can enchant potions to make Stardew, which can be really strong. You can also enchant your armor, your weapons, your tools, all sorts of stuff, and it can be some really high levels. Like, for example, sharpness 7, sharpness 7, power 7. Holy crud! You've got some really strong stuff, and you might even be able to stack some enchantments that you might not normally. This is an exceptional enchanting tool to allow you to increase your ability to just make better enchants and super potions. So, how does one make this work? Well, once you've crafted it up, like I said, you just basically have to have crafted it on your celestial altar or above with said materials. You'll have to have made some infused glass, and you have some other materials as well. You will want to wait for it to be a certain time of night. Best done around midnight. Now, in this case, I have it set up for a new moon, so there's no actual visible moon because it's in the shadow of the planet, I guess. But you could do it during other times as well. I will explain more as we go. So how else does it work? First step, you put a piece of parchment in here. No, wait. Let's actually just open the interface. You don't need to get that far into it just yet. So if I click in here, I'm going to use an empty hand because I don't want to insert anything by accident. You'll see all sorts of weird stuff on the user interface here. These colored areas on the sides will harness and show you any constellations in the area. What you have in the center is dependent upon what you're currently doing, and then the items at the top are what you've inserted into this. So let's start with a piece of paper. There we go. We have put in, or parchment, not paper, please excuse. But if I right click now, you can see there's actually a parchment here. It is currently here. You cannot grab it and drag it out. It is there still. Now here's the thing. I don't see anything yet. Why don't I see anything yet? Reason being, you have to have infused glass inserted into this. Infused glass can be enchanted. So feel free to do so. You can get mending, unbreaking, and of course curse of vanishing, but who cares about that? I recommend you at least put a level or two of unbreaking on there if you like it, but you can wait till you see the outcome before you enchant it. So don't worry about it too much. Now, once you have infused glass, you can put it on here. I'm in creative right now, so I just duplicated that into its placement. But when I right click on it now, you can now see the constellations around the side, and they're very bright. If it is a different time of day, like at dusk or something like that, these constellations might be very dim. Your effects on here, or whatever items in there, will be reduced from what they could potentially be. So I do recommend you try and aim for around midnight when you're doing your super enchanting, because this is really, really worthwhile. It's going to make you super, super strong. So what do we do here? This is kind of a mini game in a way. So let's say I've got Dissidia. I can put this in the center. That's great. All right, well, you have to line up as many of these stars with as little crossing of the constellations as you can. So if you actually grab multiples of these, like, multiple Dissidias, you can do this. It's going to be really poopy. You don't want to do that. If you want to take stuff back out, sneak right click and it comes back out. Don't do that. You definitely don't want to use the same one more than once. It's just really, really bad. The results are horrible. You can still get some enchants out of it, but it is definitely not worth it. I recommend you vary your results. In this case, I'm going to use, I've got 3 constellations I'm going to use for my default here. Dissidia, I'm going to use Pelotrio, and I'm going to use Visio. Now, I have a whole bunch of constellations revealed. If I look at my constellation list, I already have the base 5, then I have the more distant ones all the way up through Lucerna, and I actually have discovered, but I have not traced or been able to find the 4 most distant ones. And that's only because in my constellation tab here, I have actually made an iridescent altar. Once I made an iridescent altar, any constellation papers that were in my inventory then started identifying themselves, and I was able to actually store them. Now, with this in mind, only those that I've actually traced on a telescope or some similar device, which you'll see in future chapters, there's still one more that you can use, will show up in the sides here. So this is why those last 4 very dim constellations are not showing up. But you have at least the primary 5 plus the mid-tier constellations. So if you make a mistake, I place this here, I place Pelotrio, I want to try and get this to line up, and oh shoot, that's not where I wanted it. Just exit out, hit escape, and you can go back in again. It's not that bad. But then you just do this, you can put in some Pelotrio. Let's take look in the center there. I've got a couple of dots. I'm going to try and get them to line up. So I've got dots lining up here, I've got dots lining up here. This is great, and there's very minimal like crossing of these lines. They're kind of like perpendicular to each other, so I hope that helps. Now if I take this other constellation, Visio, and I start trying to add it in, you know what, I might try lining up this one in the middle, but maybe some of the dots line up, maybe the lines cross, maybe it's not the best. But if I can get it close enough, there we go. I've got them lining up here. I've got them lining up here. I just need as many dots close to each other as possible. Stars in the constellations close to each other as much as possible. And because I'm in creative, it tells me the percentages. I actually got really good stats on this because a lot of these are crossing over. If I'm not in creative, it's just going to say the 3 constellations, like Pelotrio, Visio, and Dissidia. That's it. It will be glowing like this, and you will have yourself, and actually sneak right click and you can take it out. You'll have an engraved glass, and once again, it will not have those creative values listed. Because I'm in creative, it shows that. I have another one here that I made similar already, so and you can see it's got some durability on it. These only have 5 uses on them. This is why I suggest if you like the results of this, then you can put Unbreaking. You can also put Mending on there if you have that book. You can even get Mending off of one of these things. It's great. And if you want to see what it is that these things can actually output, you can put a book in there. Now keep in mind that uses up one of the uses though. But to give an example, I've got like Evitus and Bootes, like Octans. I've got basically a whole bunch of them, and I've got Mending and Silk Touch, Loyalty 4, Respiration 4. This one here gave me Feather Falling 3, Riptide 3, Efficiency 4, Protection 5, and so on. Pelotrio, Armara, and so on. You can see we've got some pretty good enchants here. Nothing really amazing, but you can still get, like, I do have Mending though. I've got Silk Touch. I easily have Infinity. Look at this one that I just did. Pelotrio, Visio, and Dissidia. Feather Falling 4, Riptide 5, Sharpness 7, Power 7, Channeling, Lure 5, and Infinity. It's really strong. It's a good combination. But it's just an example of what you could potentially get. Now, if I did the same thing with this one, I would get another result. Actually, let me put this back in here. I'm going to delete this one. I don't want to duplicate it even more. but it is now in place. So how does this work? How do you use it to actually start enchanting stuff? One, you can just click in there something like a book, and it will start doing this. Now, you can do this at other times besides midnight. Once you've got the glass, it just needs to be dark out. It can't be during the day. And then you're good. You've got yourself an enchanted book. Sneak right click and the book comes out. Sneak right click again with an empty hand and you get the lens back out. But otherwise, there you go. I now have the same thing as I did over here. It's the same two books. Other things you can insert in there. You can put like armor. Let's put some boots in there. I'm going to get some fancy boots that I don't really care about. And then I'll probably end up just putting on and they'll have glowing feet. But you can also put in your weapons, your tools, and more importantly, let's actually take this. You can see here it also gives extra bonus stats beyond what the book will say. This is just enchants. This gives you all sorts of stuff. Extra 10% movement speed, extra added critical hit chance, 90% increased potion effect duration, 14% increased dodge chance. Also gives feather falling 5. It's fabulous. Let's make myself... let's add into this Visio Mantle of the Stars, right? I want to enchant my chest plate, see if I get some different things, because, you know, your feet are going to get different enchants than the rest of it. Your head is going to get different enchants than the rest of it because of just how the enchants are. Again, I sneak click, and you can see it gives me added benefits. Plus 6% crit chance, potion effect duration, dodge chance. And it's just really good. Alright, switching from the boots, we're going to look at like an infused crystal sword. I have just enchanted this, and you can see that it currently has sharpness 8 on it now. That's right, 8. I think I might actually have... Yep, I do. I have a +1 to all existing enchantments, a resplendent prism on me right now, which is pretty impressive. But besides that, we've got 20% more melee damage, 25% increased attack speed, plus 5 added crit chance. Oh my gosh, look at that attack damage, 21.34. It's ridiculous, but you can just keep going with this stuff, adding in different versions and so on. And I highly recommend, once again, that you try and save these once you find a good combo, or you try and make a few of them quickly in a row if you don't have the option of enchanting them. Now, yes, you can actually put engraved glass in there in an attempt, you know, to try and enchant it if it has available enchanting ability. If it cannot be enchanted with these things, like for instance, feather falling is not going to apply to it, riptide, sharpness, power, none of those are actually going to apply to a piece of engraved glass. You saw the few enchants. It would be something more like, you know, mending would be much more appropriate, or perhaps an unbreaking somewhere in there. But this is just an example of some of the things. Other stuff you can enchant besides weapons, armors, and tools is potions. This is actually a really good reason to get into potions, is Astral Sorcery. Minecraft in itself seems to be lacking. Now, let me give an example. You can actually put in all sorts of different things to start with. Let's click over here. You can use a water bottle, you can use a thick potion, you can use awkward potion, or you can use mundane potion. Any of them are essentially going to result in the same effect. You're going to get Stardew, whether it be, you know, one thing or another. Now, if you use the same engraved glass, you put in several water bottles at a time, like just one water bottle. Let me actually do this. I'll put one in. It will give you a random outcome with certain expected results. Expected results would be you're going to get the same stats on each one. Speed 4, strength 4, absorption 5, regen 5 on this one specific engraved glass setup that I have. You're going to get that on each one of these ones. Now, if you notice, though, the times, how long they last, is variable. It actually changes. It's a random amount. So you're going to get, you know, anywhere between 4 to almost 7 minutes for each thing. Maybe even as low as, let's see, what, 3-minute 23 for strength 4. I mean, still, you're getting some pretty good stuff. If you add in some perks that can, like, almost double or triple the amount of potion length you can get on this, you could just drink one, and then when it's nighttime again, you can drink another, you know. So you can make a bunch of these, especially if you have mending on an engraved glass that you really like. Now, you can also do it with splash potions. You can do it with lingering potions. Again, the timelines are going to be adjusted for the type of potion it is. So for this, it might be similar for splash potions, actually, as to what it is for a drinking one. The lingering potions are going to be drastically reduced in the time length that they will last. But still, I mean, yeah, you get plus 12 attack damage. Holy... You add that to your... You're already like 20.84 attack damage on this. And it's actually doing more damage than what it's listing here. If I were to actually attack one of those dummies, it's really impressive. And once again, the Thick Potion, Awkward Potion, Mundane Potion, you're all going to get similar random events. In this case, the speed is really low on these ones. I don't know why, but in my just random testings, they came out the same. Now here's a nice extra benefit on top of all of these great effects you might get. You might get a little bit of RNG jumping in there, and you might get something like a Phoenix Blessing, which could help you out in a pinch if you end up getting hurt. Yeah, I'm not going to really tell you all this, everything. I know Bit by Bit's usually focus on that, but Phoenix Blessing, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure it's going to help you if you die. But if not, well, I don't know. I didn't try it. But it's a potion. Works. It's got all the similar stats to the other things. It's got all the same level of the effects, just different varying amounts, and you actually got the extra added benefit of a Phoenix Blessing in there. There may be some other things as well that you could get, but you can see here, just doing Stardew for the other types of engraved glass that I have here. We have Regeneration 4, Saturation 6, which is going to basically make it so that you can, keep your saturation up. You'll always heal water breathing. Speed, haste, resistance, plus attack speed and regular speed. Absorption, regen, resistance, fire resistance. I mean, look at these. These are ridiculous. You could drink a bunch of these together and you can just take out any boss without even using any weapons if you wanted to. It's really, really impressive how strong you can get from something as simple as the Stellar Refraction Table. It does have its restrictions for it to best be used in the middle of the night. As opposed to not during daytime. And when I looked at these, I did the same exact enchant at around, I think it was like dusk, just when the sun was coming up. I think the enchants were like sharpness was still at a sharpness 4, power 4, and so on. So you still can get some really good enchants out of these things without having to sacrifice your XP levels like you normally would in Minecraft Enchanting atmosphere. So you can save them for repairing things or combining books or whatnot. Just remember, here's something that you need to know, is that if I take this Sharpness 7 book and I try and add it onto like any kind of weapon or something like that in an anvil, it's still going to restrict it to vanilla stuff. So keeping it on a book is not necessarily the good idea, because you're restricted to the highest level that vanilla can support, and that is going to be level 4 or 5, depending upon the enchant. I mean, some enchants might not even go that high, like Infinity. If you get, but anyway, you get the idea. It's best if you enchant the item directly. Otherwise, you might not get all the benefits. So that was it. I mean, there's not much more to the Stellar Refraction Table. I made this really cool little altar just to make it look pretty and put some lights through it with some spectral lenses. That was it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this brief bit by bit on the Stellar Refraction Table that is super juicy goodness. I tell you what, some excellent enchanting options. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, come visit us on Twitch, click the notification bell, help spread the mischief, and we'll see you next time. Bye.